And it is 10 o'clock on this Friday, December 6, 2024, and it is the last edition of Greek Speak, a show where we talk about all things Greek life and things related to the fraternity and sorority culture here at Shippensburg University. We're listening here again from Shippensburg University's campus in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania on WSYC 88.7 FM. I'm Luke Rainey as always, and it's Andrew Mercier joining us. And today for our final episode of the 2024 year, it is Justin Reese, otherwise known as JR, Kappa Sigma brother, and then also the Grand Procurator for the chapter. So JR, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. And I always start off with this pretty simple question. Why are you in Kappa Sigma? Why are you in Greek life?
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Really, to answer that question very simply is just to enjoy the brotherhood that I've experienced over the last 2 years. It's been really rewarding.
Yeah. So, as Luke just talked about, you hold the position of Grand Procurator. Can you kind of explain that for the general audience? What does that actually mean, and what does it detail?
Sure. So, the Grand Procurator position, otherwise known as the Vice President position, kind of just oversees anything that deals with risk. I handle a lot of things with attendance, things like that. If anyone has any issues, they can always come to me. I'm always a very open book about certain things. So yeah, it's pretty much about risk.
So when were you elected to this position, and how long do your terms go for each position?
Sure. So I was elected in the spring 2024 semester, and then I didn't start my active role until this semester, which is the fall of 2024. So yeah.
So Justin and I joined the fraternity together. He's a little bit on the non-traditional side. You want to kind of touch on that, why people say that you're the old man, you're the non-traditional student, why are you different than everyone else?
Yeah, so I actually graduated from high school in 2017. And I didn't have any aspirations after high school at that time, so I just went to work full-time in my hometown in Gettysburg. So I worked there for a couple of years. I actually had some life experiences happen, and it led me to wanting to better myself in the future. So the spring of 2021 is when I started at community college in the Gettysburg campus of HAC. So that's when I started taking classes and started getting, the feel for a college life and what that would look like. So I started doing that, did classes up until the spring 2023. That's when I came here to Shippensburg, and that's when I met you and the rest of the guys of that member class. I had a really positive experience, and that's kind of what led me to Kappa Sigma.
Yeah. So, obviously you've talked about your experience being the vice president. Do you have any other experience in a leadership position within the Kappa Sigma fraternity and just Shippensburg in general?
Yeah, so the fall 2023 semester, I was elected as the Grand Scribe, which is the secretary of the Kappa Sigma fraternity. So that was just, everyone knows what a secretary does, note keeping, stuff like that, meeting minutes. So that was my first ever taste of a leadership role. And then that same semester, I was also elected as the recruitment chair for the Interfraternal Council, otherwise known as IFC. That was also a very positive experience with me. I've met a lot of cool guys across the Greek community. Connected with them, and I think I strengthened our, relationship with those other fraternities as well.
Yeah, that relationship is quite important, but what's nice, and you've been emphatic on this throughout your time, is that we always have some representation in IFC, because when we don't, that often can make life difficult for interacting with the other chapters, and also having that prestige of having, again, someone in that type of position. So we're very lucky to have not one, but two brothers currently serving on IFC. That would be Theo Campamanes and Luke Hilligus. So I know you were kind of pushing for that throughout the semester, and then those were the guys that stepped up to do it. So talk about how you've been able to how you were able to kind of get them to kind of see that this is something they'd be able to do, and how that came about to get Theo and Luke in there.
Yeah, so I mean, it was really simple, honestly, if I'm really being honest about it. Obviously I talked to them individually and told them that they have really great personalities. They're definitely capable of handling the position. The ones that they were elected to, I think they're both really good guys. They have really strong voices. They can really captivate a room. It didn't take much convincing to have them run for the position in the first place, but also seeing them getting the votes and being elected was a really cool experience, and I'm really proud of those guys, honestly.
Yeah, especially again, I have both of them in it, and there are two that are quite involved. Luke, obviously, our treasurer, and then Theo has a number of positions in the fraternity, everything from alumni relations to his role in the diversity committee that we created this semester. It's certainly special to have them, but I definitely want to transition into a little bit of a it's a related topic in a sense, and I think we'll kind of touch on that as we move through the show. But you're currently doing an internship, is that correct? With it's the Hershey Entertainment Resorts.
Yeah.
So tell us about what's going on there.
Yeah, so I got this internship with Hershey Entertainment and Resorts in the August of this year. So that's a long-term internship. So basically, I can end that whenever I want to. There's no set deadline. There's no contract. So basically, a little bit what I do with that is I'm an employee scheduling and support team member there at the park. So I handle anything between their time cards, their scheduling, any grievances that they may have about whatever they may have them about. Also coordinating with my supervisors and the human resources department regarding any type of absences or disciplinary actions that may be taken in the future with those.
And that's especially where it segues into your role as procurator right now, where I that's at least the way I see it, from the brother perspective is that it's almost a disciplinary position where if there are issues like that arise within the fraternity, you're ultimately the one that oversees that type of conduct. You review the code of conduct with all of us every semester it is, and things like that. So how does you kind of assume those roles at the same time, but how do you see comparisons between the disciplinary roles you do at the fraternity and then the disciplinary roles that you'd be doing human resources at Hershey?
I think the comparison with those two are going to be the conflict management. I think it's really important to understand what kind of environment you're in, first of all, and then, segueing into the conflict management, you can kind of gauge on what is acceptable and what's unacceptable at that time. I think it's really important to understand your person that you're dealing with at that time, and just getting down to a more human level with it. It doesn't always have to be negative. It doesn't always have to be a disciplinary action. It can be, a learning experience for both sides. I know I'm not perfect, so I make mistakes, and that's why I have four other guys on the executive committee to run things by and have their opinions shared before I make a decision. So it's not just me making decisions behind the curtain. I take pride in inviting other opinions onto the stage.
Yeah. It's definitely been a pleasure to serve the fraternity with you. We've seen our relationship kind of skyrocket over the last semester. We went from just being brothers and knew who each other were and knew a few things, but when I moved into our fraternity house, us being pretty much next door neighbors really allowed us to get a lot closer, and then we've been able to bond with our love of movies and love of Madden and stuff like that. But you've always had a connection with a really close connection with someone in the house. How do you do that, and why?
Honestly, I think it's just spending the daily time with them. There's no secret potion, there's no secret sauce per se about that. I think it's the time that you spend with the brothers in the house. Even the guys that don't live in the house, there's a couple of guys that come over every day, and you just get to know them on a more personal level. So it's really special to have those relationships moving forward after life after college. you can kind of tell who's going to be sticking around and who's going to be moving on. So I'm really happy that we had that relationship, and we're continuing to build on that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome. I mean, I would say that right now my best friends are probably you and our other neighbor, Cody. And Cody was one of my roommates last year. We were in a D suite, so my actual roommate was Mike Burrs, who we've had on before. Great guy. And then obviously Cody was on the other side, but I've really gotten a lot closer with Cody due to our love of movies and love of video games. But yeah, I mean, it's been a really fun semester. But you want to talk about the new internship offer that you were just
So
offered?
I'm really excited about this one. I wouldn't have gotten this position had I not had this internship that I am currently at now. So basically, this is more of a recruitment role for the Human Resources Department at Hershey Park. So I'm going to be overseeing interviews. I'm going to be conducting interviews. I'm going to be going to hiring events. I'm going to be talking on stages about Hershey entertainment as a whole, because it's not just the park. It's Zoo America. It's Milton's Ice Cream Parlor. It's all these other entities that they have. The lodge. It's not just the park that some people may perceive it as to be. They have so many different assets. It's actually a really huge company, so I'm really excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's obviously, they have a lot of resources, especially for college students, where they have the leadership internship program. And there's several people who completed that internship, then they moved into like their corporate offices. One of my friends, he did the internship, I think, 2 summers in a row, and then eventually became a marketing intern for them. He's also working with the Hershey Cubs, even Hershey Bears on occasion. So it's a company where, again, from the outside, I notice like a lot of advancement opportunities are there. So it doesn't surprise me really that like you were able to like get another opportunity where you're going to be pitching the whole company itself, and it's that. And just to kind of like backtrack a little bit, like how have you come to love the HE&R brand? Like, as you've been working up there? Because I could say the same thing about my experiences, where the more you work in it, the more you kind of have that internal passion for it. So how have you seen that in yourself?
Yeah, I think it all starts with me being a kid and going to Hershey Park as a kid. I think that's where the love started. But I think moving on to my adult life, it's basically just my supervisors and the team members that I've met so far since I've been there. My supervisors have been great. They've been giving me resources to contact people that are in my specific field. So I email with them back and forth, and it's just as simple as that. It's all about the people you know. Shout out to Dana and shout out to Aaron.
Yeah. And I admire that because you'll be starting that in the spring, I assume, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because I'll have a spring internship in Harrisburg as well, so I wouldn't mind carpooling to save some that gas money whenever that works out. But yeah, we've really become acquainted with like that area of the state. I feel like the 2 of us have, at least in recent months and years. But yeah, I'll tell you what, it's certainly. It's great to see like the level of leadership that you carry within the fraternity as well. So to kind of backtrack that, we're talking about your age. It had a non-traditional path.
Sure.
How do you think that keeps everybody in line? Like you having a little bit more experience in life. Do you like that helps us? I think it helps us in some ways because they talk about this. There's research done where the male brain does not fully develop until you hit about 25, 26 years old.
That's what they say.
So that's what they do say. So with that type of, again, age and maturity, like how do you see that like being able to carry over to the other 51 brothers that we have?
I think that carries over with, like you said, life experience. Obviously we all have the same playing field as far as academics go, but I know I can offer a little bit more as far as daily life. I would say I'm not really quite sure if that's the right term to use it, but. I've been there, I've been, down that path before. I know what's out there. So I think just having the people around me and the guys, the ones that are, genuinely, curious about things that, in life that actually do happen, they ask me and I'm straight up with them. I'm honest with them. It's not always sunshine and rainbows out there. So, there's adversity at every single corner. So I think, knowing that there is adversity out there, that's just your first step in realizing, life is tough, but, you have a good education, you have a good head on your shoulders, you can get through it.
Well, yeah, and that's especially, I think that's the benefit of why people would join is because they get to meet brothers like you and people who have a very different life outlook and experience. I mean, we talked about this throughout the show, obviously, with us being the largest fraternity on campus. We're bringing all sorts of different voices together in the same room. And 2 weeks ago, I had Michael Luzzi, one of our, I would say, most involved brothers that we have, and we talked about that, where it's like we just had the inclusive leadership workshop with Bridget Allen, where you're integrating 52 voices and making sure they all have representation in the room. That becomes a challenge for sure.
Absolutely.
But I also think it's also an opportunity because with 52 people, naturally speaking, you're going to have very different perspectives, very different ideas in the room. And obviously, some people who are going to be more further ahead in life than others. I'm sure, I don't know if we have any that would be 18 years old in the fraternity. I think they're all 19 and up at this point. But definitely in the spring, you're recruiting people who are still 18 years old who would be, you have, they've only lived like 70% the amount of time that you've been on this earth for. So it's going to be crazy, like, kind of think about that difference. But that's why things like this exist, to like unite people, freshmen and senior, everybody from freshmen to seniors, and for your case, someone who has a little bit extra age coming in, brings them together. But we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a moment here on Greek Speak, WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University. Oh. Swap in.
Is that you?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Mercier plus special guests every Friday at 10 a.m.
And we're back. So I'm going to ask you, Mr. JR. So yeah, we've been in the fraternity for about almost 2 years now. What is the best thing that you've experienced in your time? I know that might be a hard question. If you got to name like one or two, that's fine, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, in no specific order, I think Greek Week is probably my favorite week-long event. So if everyone that doesn't know what Greek Week is, it's a week-long activity-based thing where all the fraternities and sororities, they get together and they compete in games such as cornhole, spike ball, things like that. And there's I think this year they had Family Feud. I can't remember. Yeah. That's
like they're adding different things that are. It's always evolving. Is, a good way to say it. I think that's something that you always need to do in order to
make an engagement.
Keep up in life.
But yeah, I think Greek Week is really awesome. I've had a couple of good experiences with that so far since I've been in Greek life. I think the top one's got to be Rush Week, man. It has to be Rush Week. It's always fun. There's always something different. We're always doing something new. I'm really excited about it every single semester. So yeah.
I want to backtrack to Greek Week because I think the biggest event of the week, and I wasn't there for any of it last spring. I was away on a conference, but it's the lip sync dance battle. I think is probably something that hundreds of people show up to that,
yeah.
so it's obviously that's the big event. So obviously we didn't. I don't think we won it last year. I think we fell short on that one.
I think we did too.
Yeah.
But imagine the 24-year-old getting up there and dancing with Justin Bieber.
That's a great thing. It's also, piggybacking off that point though, it's a good opportunity to kind of expand our connections, other groups on campus. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but we bring in some people from dance troupe to prepare us for that.
Yeah, so that was a really cool experience. That was the first time that's ever happened. Our former president Trenton Klauser. His girlfriend Haley Taggart was the former president of dance troupe, so they coordinated with that with us, and they got us prepared. So yeah, that was a great thing.
Yeah, that was a special moment, and I mean, like I said, I wasn't there for it, but I know that generated a lot of buzz on campus. Everything that happened during that week, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if the dance competition is really going to be my cup of tea, this upcoming year. But one thing that they have a spelling bee, do they not? Is that happened? I think
it did happen this year. Yeah, I think that's been going on.
I want that one. I'll take that one for sure because I'm the 6th grade spelling bee champion back home. So I want February. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna think the exact date. I think it was February 25th, 2016. I won that thing. They can't take it away. They cannot take it away. And then I advanced to it was the county spelling bee, and then I ended up, it was the word knowingly I got tripped up on. I put an extra L after the W because I think just had a quick lapse in judgment there. But I want to be able to get some revenge and then get another title there for spelling bee.
I think it comes in partners. I think there's 2 people that do the spelling bee.
Oh,
I think so.
I'll have to think carefully about recruiting somebody else on the team. Oh my gosh! But Greek Week's going to be. I'm excited to actually be able to take part in at least some of it this year because that's a big deal for the campus. It's a big deal for us. Rush Week was obviously this is a second Rush Week. Last year in the spring, I was actually rushing the fraternity, and this week I was able to supervise that. And that was a really good week to get some good media experience for our social media account. And I talked about that before, using Alex Staub's camera, being able to take care of things like that. That was a very productive week. But like you said, for Rush Week, and we obviously had our most successful rush in a long time. And whenever Rush Week is going on, you're evaluating a lot of characters at the same time. So this is a question I'll often hit on too. Is what are you looking for? Out of those who would be rushing, and then they're obviously prospective members at that time, they then become new members, and eventually they become brothers.
I think what we look for is someone who has a very high set of morals, whether it be with your home life or your own personal morals. I think that's really important. Someone who has a very good set of ethics that they hold themselves to on a daily basis. I really think it's just as simple as, if they're a good person or not. You can tell somebody if they're a good person, within the first 5 minutes of a conversation that you had with them. So I think what we look for is those 2 things, and then as well as, something that I look for is a sense of humor because I like having a sense of humor. I'm a jokester myself, but I think that's important.
I'm just gonna put it out there. He's lying, but. Being the head of recruitment, that's something that I really have to evaluate. But we're very open. In this past calendar year, we've seen our brotherhood go up by 30 members. 30 members.
That's insane.
But HQ still won't highlight us. But they'll post pictures of Spider-Man. But that's a story for another day. But, just really lock it into these different areas. We've seen a lot of our majors switch. Originally our fraternity was filled with a lot of business majors. Mm-hmm. And now we've really seen a surge in the engineering field. Yeah. And I think that is incredible. And those guys are all really, really smart guys. And the thing is, we all help each other. Especially with, gen eds. With there being 52 guys, there's a good 85% chance that whatever gen ed that JR is taking right now, I already took it. Or, vice versa or something like that. So, you have those brothers there that are willing to lift you up and help you prepare for a test, prepare for a test, prepare for an exam, help you work on a project. And that's definitely been my favorite thing that I've seen over the last year and seen just in my time is seeing people that are willing to push each other up and help each other. Because, that's something when I was a kid I was the oldest. So, I was the one that was giving advice and stuff. I never had people that were, pushing me up. I had family and friends and stuff like that. But, having that, that big brother, I never really had that.
Story about life.
So, coming to college and joining the fraternity, these guys, it's no joke. yeah, fraternity guys are called brothers and sorority girls are called sisters. But it really is a real brotherhood. It really is. Like, I consider this guy to my left a brother of my, brother for my life. Same with Luke. That's just how I view things. And maybe some people view it differently. I don't know. But, I just think it's been a remarkable experience. And, I'm still excited to see how next semester goes. It's going to be our last semester in our current term as part of the executive committee. But we had a awesome semester. As Luke touched on and I've touched on in previous weeks, we added our diversity chair, and we've seen that completely skyrocket. Like, I remember we had a chapter meeting, I put it underneath me. I was like, hey, we're going to do this.
Get the ball rolling.
We're going to get the ball rolling on this. But I didn't really have expectations. I was like, this is a new chair. We're going to see how it goes. But I give a lot of credit to Regross, Theo Campamanos, Michael Luzzi, and just the entire brotherhood for the total engagement. And Jared talked about it earlier with engagement. You got to have a positive amount of engagement, and that's what you see during Rush Week. That's why when we schedule different events, we try to schedule different type of events. So, like, first day we did volleyball. Okay, I suck at volleyball. So I just sat on the computer and did some computer work most of the time. Football, I love football. I still ended up on the computer half the time.
Still better than Mark Andrews.
What are you talking about? But, it's having these events that makes everyone feel included and, happy. And then Wednesday, we had to shift gears. We ended up doing, like, cards and water pong. That's a completely different type of event. And, that's really where you get to see people, like, for who they really are. Like, one thing that we did was we made brothers and prospective new members be on one team. So that gave you a chance to interact with them. Like, that gave you a chance to just talk and hang out and, like, I don't know, what's your favorite color? I don't know. I would probably never ask that, but, you know what I mean? Like, you get the point. But, no, it's just been an incredible ride. And I'm excited to see where things go. So, kind of going back to the internship.
Sure.
What's the goal after college?
The goal after college, that is the million-dollar question. I would love to stay with Hershey. I would love to be, the senior supervisor for the recruitment team on the HR department. That just excites me to no end. I truly believe that I'm born to be a recruiter. I'm a really good leader. I feel like I am, at least, but I really just enjoy the whole recruitment process of that. And I think what really helped me with that was getting my start here at Shippensburg University.
So whenever you think about that, and it's like I said earlier, like we talked about this, where you're growing that passion for it within human resources, but how does that start? Because that's not necessarily you look at it like a 7-year-old. A 7-year-old, goes there and says, like, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a football player. They don't say, I want to be a human resource recruiter. How does that, like, it's like I'm kind of in the field, like, I'm in a field, public relations and like politics. I mean, there's you have some youthful energy there for sure, where if you're that young, you say, like, I want to be president one day. But, like, how did that begin for you to say, well, human resources, like, I have a place here?
Yeah, so like you said, it's not something that every one kid says that they want to grow up to be. So what started for me was right after high school, I was find myself in a factory working, and the human resources department there was not the best, department to work with. They were kind of just not your most welcoming, warm type of department you would think of. So I think that experience with that made me want to be better than that. Made me want to, push the boundaries and, make people excited to come in and have a conversation. And I think that's what really sparked it for me.
Yeah, so you kind of had that sort of, I see an area where I know how I could improve this, or at least you think you know how you can improve it. Because I get that. I really do. And that's my passion for politics. I mean, it seems foolish now, but at age 16, it was 2020. COVID dominated life, and state politics all of a sudden became very much relevant. And I looked at the situation. It was a terrible year, in my opinion. I mean, I think that was one of the worst years in my life was probably 2020. Just because there was social isolation. I mean, everything that we all know the story at this point. But, like, going through that year, I also looked at, and there was obviously a year of a huge political turmoil, and I thought, well, maybe I can make a difference in this one day. And again, it's very foolish to kind of think that at age 16 that you know a lot more than the people running the show, because you don't. But it at least is where your passion starts. And I think even for public relations, I can say the same thing there, where it's, I look at social media and it's a weird story, but I was in this there was this video game. I'm into racing, so it was this racing video game, and we have this we'd schedule races each week and have an actual league competition thing to it, and then I decided, I want to run a social media account for it, and it was fun. It was creative, and then you're tapping in things that you see actual professional accounts do, and you're trying to manage that account. It's age 17. It's a good experience, and I was. I'm going through college experience, and I decided to pick up public relations. That was something else that I wanted to do, so I did it. Social media is obviously an integral part about public relations, and that's where when it comes to PR, that's not something that people are thinking about that they want to do whenever that young. But you get that experience where you see a way for you to improve it, or at least have a creative aspect of that field, and then you execute. So it's certainly a good story where it's you see an area of weakness somewhere, and you think there's a lot of opportunity for improvement. I think that's how a lot of serious passions actually develop. But we'll keep going with this conversation here. Again, we're with Justin Reese, the Grand Procurator of Kappa Sigma's Shippensburg University chapter. You're listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University's campus in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania on WSYC 88.7 FM. We'll be back in just a moment. Expert, choose English. What other topics do we have to think of? I'm kind of running out. Beyond the game. We talk about what's going to happen on Sunday at our chapter meeting?
No.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. I learned patience from my adoptive dad.
Anything that you guys have in mind? I'm stuck right now.
You got this. Just breathe.
I know, it's tough because it's those are the things with substance.
Drew's got some.
You got something?
Learn about adopting a teen
He's always
from
got
foster
some.
care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org. This is brought to you by
Okay. Switch in, about handle the buttons.
Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Again, you're listening to Greek Speak on 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Man, that was pretty good. But, well, again, thank you, Justin, for being here. Feels like you've been begging to be on the show since September. My gosh. But,
Just wish they put me on.
I see, we've talked about your experience on IFC. You're wearing your IFC sweatshirt right now. I swear you wear it 5 days a week.
Dude, they're so comfortable. So nice.
You have other clothes, man. You have other clothes.
Hey, there's another
If
shirt.
you ever
that
see him
don't
on
need.
campus, he's probably wearing this or the blue quarter zip. But, man, he reminds me of someone that works at, Texas Roadhouse, where they walk around with the, I hurt my job. Man, I hurt IFC. But, I don't know. It's just, how's the semester going? I know that we've talked and you're like, I hate it. I hate the semester. Come on, there's got to be some positives that come from the semester.
There is. So this semester, my current advisor, Vicki Taylor, I have two classes with her this semester. She's been great. I really enjoyed every single class I've had with her, speaking with her, getting her aspect of human resources, because she herself is a human resources professional. So she is going to be looking over my resume in a couple of weeks over break. I would say the only reason why I'm saying I'm not enjoying this semester is managerial accounting. So it's been rough for me.
Yeah. I definitely hear about it every single day, like 45 times a day. But I don't know. It's been a lot. But you're smart. I was gonna say kid, but you are not a kid.
You can't use that word
You're a
anymore.
smart guy. You're gonna figure it out.
Well, and I think you mentioned it's like you're getting, this, you have a class that's kind of like getting you down, and there's other things like that. But I think this goes into something where I think you and I very much have similar experience with this, and that is just overloading and overbooking ourselves on things. We both do a lot. You have an internship you're doing right now. You're taking your classes. You're overseeing an executive position within the fraternity. I mean, I've gone through my list before on this show exactly for everything else that I have going on. How do you manage your life? Do you manage it, or just kind of does life kind of manage you? Because I'm kind of finding myself in that spot right now where my life is kind of managing me.
I think, in life you can only control what you can control at the very end of the day. But I think with the laundry list of things that you and I both have to deal with on a regular basis, I think the more that you can control it, the better, obviously. But life gets in the way, and there's certain things that take precedent over the things that you do on a daily basis. But so I think the way that I control it is I try to use my time management skills to the best of my abilities, and sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm unsuccessful. And I think the biggest part of that is whenever you are unsuccessful, it's being transparent with that and being communicative to the people that you might have not have hit a deadline to. So I think what really boils down to it is being communicative to those people.
Right, and I think what the good communication is obviously the important thing, and that's a lesson I think for everybody. And I think that's something like I emphasize that anywhere in life, and especially I think within the fraternity, like this is something that we definitely need to emphasize is the communication aspect of it, because especially at this time of year, everybody's in such a crunch, and yeah, admittedly, sometimes Kappa Sigma is kind of becoming it becomes like a secondary or tertiary thought in your mind, just because it's there's just so many other things at this point we got to prepare for. I mean, I'm sitting here right now, and within the next 6 days, I'm taking however many exams, doing however many presentations, however many papers and projects and things like that. And it's so overwhelming, but obviously the show still goes on when it comes to things at the fraternity. But the thing that I emphasize is just if people can't do things, if you can't make it, you can't do your job, you got to tell somebody proactively.
Right.
The proactive communication is so important. It's not a reactive thing, and that's a matter of maturity. That's a matter of just being an adult. Because at the end of the day, life's not going to get any less busier after college. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it gets worse.
And and it's your duties, your obligations change. It's I compare it to my summer internship versus what I'm doing now. I had one summer internship, but there was still a little bit of life I had to manage throughout the course of the summer. And it's obviously the goal one day is you have your own family, things like that. I mean, that's at least my hope. And I think when you do get to that stage of life, again, your priorities change, but your ability to balance commitments never goes away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to just add on to that quickly is, everyone has their own set of things, in life. And, the more that you communicate with them, the better understanding they're going to have of you and of your character, because, being communicative just shows, exemplary character. So, yeah.
Right, and it goes, and the art of saying no is also that's also another thing, because I probably took on a little bit more than I should have for this semester. And this goes back to last semester. I talked about it before on the show where I had the injury going on, where there was a rehab process, things like that, where I completely threw my life upside down, and it's that was a brutal semester. This has been a different type of brutal as far as my ability to juggle commitments. But I mentioned earlier in the show where I have this internship going on upcoming in the spring, and it's going to require time. I mean, of course, as anything meaningful in life would, it's going to require time and commitment. And I talked to both of you actually about this, where there are some things where I'm going to have to scale myself back on just because there's no other way to survive it. And I think, like, to me, it's one of the first times in my life where I had to finally start saying no to a couple things. And it stinks doing that. It really does, especially if you love something too much. But until they come up with a 48-hour day, I don't know I don't know how else to negotiate.
Yeah,
But,
I think it's one of those things where obviously the communication comes back into it. Luke, you've been really awesome with us ever since you came into the fraternity. I'm really proud of you, and we're always willing to work with the brothers.
I mean, he's one of the best. Like, straight up, he's one of the best. Like, I remember when Luke and I kind of go way back. We've known each other for a while, both in the comm jury department. And him and I were always friends. But, he never really approached me about the fraternity, and so I never really approached him. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, like, I don't know what happened, but someone, like, I don't know if he brought it to my attention or I just started thinking about it.
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, probably. But I remember I just had a vision. I was like, I want him in the fraternity, and I want him to be the public relations chair. And I told him that. I straight up told him that. I don't even think you were going through your new
I don't
member.
think he said yes. I think he just, when do I start?
I don't even think he was going through his education process at that point. I think he was still just himself. So I was like, hey, this is what I want you to do. I mean, I was the current chair, and I was like, I really want to work with him, and he's just been excellent. I mean, we've seen our account following go up by like nearly 600 followers in the last, almost year, which is absolutely incredible. But yeah, we're gonna be wrapping up the show shortly. But you have any questions for me? You gotta ask something. Come on.
What made you guys start this whole Greek speak thing? What was the deciding factor to say, you know what, Luke, we're gonna do this?
Well, one thing is, again, Luke and I are very close. We got very close over the summer due to us both living in Ship. But I wanted to get more involved on campus in terms of student media. I have another podcast titled Beyond the Game.
Beyond the Game.
JR is like the #1 follower. But
every morning on my commute.
But that was something that I was just doing on the side, and like shout out Bryce, shout out Rylan. Got another episode 2:00 today. But I was having a lot of fun with that. But I wanted more, and that's kind of how I am in life. Is I always want more. So I was like, I brought up the idea to Luke, and then we went to Bridget Allen, and I was like, what do you think about taking our experience of being comm journey students and also being fraternity brothers and blending it? And so that's where our story really started. And then obviously the goal of the show is to bridge the Greek life community together. I mean, I know recently there's been more Kappa Sigma brothers than others. Hindi, I know you're going to probably listen to some point, so no, it is not Kappa Sigma Speaks. But it's been the point of trying to, be the bridge between different organizations and bring people together.
Yeah, and a point on that as well, because Jonathan Hinderleiter, our president, he's emphasized throughout, like whenever we talked about the show within our chapter, is that he says that it's not. He wants to see a lot more involvement outside of our fraternity than just Kappa Sigma. And I'm sure any listener would, because if this is a show to encompass all Greek life, that's kind of what you want to hear. But at the end of the day, the way I also see it is the idea was brought forth by two brothers of Kappa Sigma. So it's kind of natural that the show kind of led itself to emphasizing things that Kappa Sigma does. And, as far as I'm concerned, there's other members of Greek life that are within the Conjure and Media department, and I think they should very much get involved in the radio station if they aren't already, and that's their prerogative to show that initiative to do that. So we obviously showed the initiative to do it because it was something that we both felt we could get some good experience with. And at the end of the day, I mean, that gets credit to Jenna Cornell, the general manager here at WSYC. who was very receptive, and I wasn't sure how she was going to take the idea, but once I presented it to her, she definitely seemed she again embraced it, enjoyed it. She told us that this show had happened before. There was a Greek talk show on WSYC prior to us at some point, so there's some confidence there that kind of came with it, that it wasn't like we were doing something entirely new. Someone had done it before, and we were just kind of revamping it and then redoing it ourselves. But we're going to take a quick little break, and then we'll be back just to wrap things up here on Greek Speak WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg University in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania.
Listen to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania.
Did you want to pick up, or I mean, I can pick up? Because I want to say something.
With Rainey, Andrew Mercier, plus special guests every Friday at 10 a.m.
Back at here at Greek Speak with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, and our special guest for our final episode of 2024, Justin Reese, otherwise known as JR. And just to kind of wrap up my thoughts about how the past semester has gone as far as our show, just because again this is kind of a concluding moment. This was, of course, our first semester doing it, and like we talked about, kind of figuring out exactly what the show was going to be. It was one of those deals where we didn't have a game plan for it coming in. We had a vision for what we wanted it to be, and then things just kind of morphed into the direction of, like we said, we kind of had a predominant discussion with Kappa Sigma Brothers. But I mean, if there is anyone listening to this from any other fraternity or sorority on campus, strongly encourage you to talk to us, because next semester the goal and the hope is that we'll continue with this program. But overall, I've been very satisfied with it, and this has been a good experience getting behind the microphones here in this studio throughout the semester. So definitely appreciate the role that this has been able to have in my life, especially a consistent thing to do on a Friday morning. But overall, this semester, when it comes to fraternity itself, when it comes to things like that, this is my first semester full-time as a brother, and it has been quite worthwhile seeing the full experience of it. And again, it's been something different about my college experience that never in a million years did I think that I would have signed up for it whenever I first came to school. But Andrew talks about it, as far as like how I came to be within the fraternity, and a lot of it was Andrew's transparency throughout the recruitment process about what I could expect. That was very important. I'm not someone that likes going into things that I know very little, if any, about. And a lot of the questions I asked are probably a lot more detail than he was probably expecting for a lot of people that would join a Greek organization. But Andrew, you answered those questions effectively, and to the point where I was confident in my decision to join. You guys bought into me probably more than I was buying into myself at that time in my life. And yeah, I can't. It's hard to come up with more good things to say about it than that. But it's a worthwhile thing, and that's where it's and how many times I said on this show, you can't knock it until you tried it. So whenever you have any students here on campus who may be on the fence of joining a Greek organization, I would strongly urge you to just take that chance. It'll be well worth it. And if you get further into the process, you find out it's not exactly for you, there's no harm in turning around at any point. But the more and more I got involved in the process, and the more and more involved I became within the chapter just on my own accord, the more worthwhile it was. So this has been a great semester in both its show and then also the fraternity itself. And then I'll turn it off to Andrew here for some closing remarks.
Yeah, Luke, I completely agree. This has been quite a different experience. As I talked about, I have another show, but my other show is not a live show. It is a pre-recorded and then uploaded later. So this is the first time that I'm speaking on a live show, and it's been an incredible experience. As Luke was talking about, we really had a vision, and it's exceeded my vision. And, next semester, my goal is to continue this. Obviously, with it working with me and Luke's schedule, I want to continue this going forward because it's just been a really cool experience. It's taught me a lot, and I've been able to learn even about even though it's slowly morphed into Kappa Sigma Speaks. I've been able to learn more about my brothers on a more personal level rather than just us sitting around hanging out. Like, this has been really cool getting to see different people's experiences and, like, you know, their favorite experience from the fraternity thus far. But if you're in another organization, please reach out. I will answer. The goal is, as I said, to connect with all different organizations. JR talked about how IFC strengthened his connection with organizations like PyLam and PSK. But you know, that's my goal. That's the purpose of the show, is to bring us all together and to understand that we are all one. We're all part of the Greek community. I don't care if you're in PyLam, PSK, or if I'm in Kappa. It doesn't matter to me. We're all college students. We're all here to get a degree. We're all doing doing something that is hopefully going to help us in the professional world, while having some fun as well, and, you know, meeting people that are really going to stand out in our lives. But again, it's just been an incredible ride. Sad to see the semester go. It went really fast, but I'm really excited for next semester, and really excited to come back and kickstart Greek Speak Season 2. But got anything, Luke?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, one thing I just like to say is, I mean, JR, if you have any closing remarks to say as well for anything related to Greek life, now's the time to do it for sure.
Yeah, so, you know, like Luke said, you know, if you guys are thinking about it, you know, the more the merrier, you know, like they say. You know, like he said, you know, if it's not for you, you can always just turn around, and there's no harm, no foul type deal. I'm really proud of you guys for doing this. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and speak on Greek Speak. So hopefully I can come back and let you know how the recruitment internship goes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, should have a full semester going. Obviously, it's unclear as far as when that hour would be next semester. Things, you know, that depends on everybody's schedule and getting things worked out there. But these Fridays at 10 a.m., I mean, we've had about a dozen shows this semester, I'd say, just having to estimate it. I mean, we appreciate all who've come on the show, again, from all chapters, because it wasn't just us. We did have multiple episodes where we were bringing in people from the outside, so it was a good semester in both ways. But we thank all of you for listening to our show every Friday morning at 10 a.m. for the past 3 months. And until next semester, we'll be seeing you all later.